KILR Killer Game.
Hello gamers, simmers, and pilots. I am the Killer Gamer as I adjust my headset here, and welcome to my tour around the world, kind of, with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2. To be more specific, 2.13. But like to keep it simple, so Microsoft Flight Simulator 2. Alright, so this is a really old simulator, not one that I've actually played before. I played the Commodore 64, the SubLogic Flight Simulator 2, which is what this is based off of. This has, well, I don't know if it's really got any enhancements. The only enhancements I can really see is this is all filled, the control panel is filled, and you've got these colors here, the blue and the pinkish red there. It is a little hard to read because of, I think it's how it's doing the colors, but I always thought this was neat when I saw it, and I like the curve of the, I've always liked that. I've always been fascinated with that. I don't know why. It just has a more feel of a control panel rather than it just being flat all the way across, which is how it is on the Commodore 64 and the Commodore Amiga, and for that matter, Microsoft Flight Simulator 3 and 4, because 3 and 4 were based off of the Commodore Amiga version. Amiga and Atari ST, they're along the same lines. But anyhow, this is what we've got, and our world tour is going to be limited because we can't actually fly around the world with this, but we can try to fly what we can. With the aid of scenery discs from SubLogic, we'll be able to fly most of the continental US because there are some scenery discs that weren't made. Even though they did make USA West and USA East, it does not work on it requires Flight Simulator 4 or higher. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work with FSX. I don't know why you'd want to use it on FSX, probably not, but it'll work on Flight Simulator 4 and Flight Simulator 5. Probably don't want to use it with 5, but 4. But no, it does not work with Flight Simulator 3. I did try it. It gave me a whole bunch of garbly goop and then froze. And then 2 is just completely different. So let's show you some of the functions here. So if you hit the escape key, that's going to bring you into the edit mode. And this is just like SubLogic Flight Simulator 2. So that's what I'm saying. This is a port off of that. But you can see I turn auto coordination off so we have access to the rudders. Reality mode, I have that turned on so that way we can make use of the magnetos. If you run out of fuel, engine quits. Oh, let's see. That's interesting. I don't remember the rudder and stuff having figures. Alright, so you got your time. Season 4 is winter, and then you can enter in your clouds and winds, and then your reliability factor. This is the chance that one of your instruments will fail. I've tried that on the Commodore 64 by putting in 99, and on one flight it just there was just like one instrument failure after another. I'm like, it's 99%. What are you doing here? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, hit escape again, and we are back to the screen. So I'm sure you recognize where we're at. This is the starting point of all the flight simulators, with the exception of, I think 2004 is where it stopped because of Meigs being torn up, sadly. It's possible. I don't think 3 or 4 start off there. I think they start off somewhere else. But anyway, I know the Amiga version does. It starts off in California, Oakland Airport, I believe. But anyway, let's go ahead and bring up the map right there so we can talk about where we're going. So if you know anything about the other flights that I've done on this channel, you'll know that the tour starts off here at Merrill C Meigs, and it goes right here to Chicago O'Hare. That is the first leg of our flight. And so, like those, that is where we're going to be going. So if you want an idea of the flight that we're actually taking, just take a look at those other simulators. We're going to match it. We're going to match that same exact flight, at least to Champaign. And then after that, I have to see if I can get the scenery discs working. This is running on DOSBox. I've tried to get the scenery disc to work. It just freezes. So I might have to build an actual DOS computer in order to get this to work. I don't know. But I will do the best that I can. I want to try to get this to match all the other ones, because I'm sure some of you out there have got fond memories of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2. So I don't want to leave this one out in the cold. I want to take this one out there also. Even though it's similar to the Commodore 64, some of you may be like, I didn't have a Commodore 64. I had a DOS PC. So, yeah, this is for you guys and girls. All right, let's go ahead and get this started. To do that, you hit the M key, and if you do 2, it makes the left mag, so you can see that right here. And then M3 is right, M4 is both, M5 is start. Oh, and I had to play around with the audio levels to make sure that the sound of the airplane was not drowning my voice out. I think I've got it this time. So I definitely have to turn the volume down on my headset because, oh, it really can give me a headache. All right. So what else do we got here? We got our RPMs at our time. Oh, we got landing gear. That's currently down. I believe G will raise them up. We'll test that after we're up in the air. So, Chicago O'Hare, the VOR is 113.9. So we'll set that, and we will set this to get it centered. Let's see if our comms work. Control tower should be 121.3. Now we can use the mouse and actually click this. It doesn't allow you to go up though. So you can do this, or I believe if you hit C and then plus minus, see, now you can go up or down. So 113.9. So, well, okay, wrong one. That was the VOR for Chicago O'Hare. 121.3. 121. and then I believe CC, and then plus, yep. So double C, and then plus or minus will change that. And there we go. Meigs field information, X-ray, 12 Zulu, weather, visibility 10, temperature 54, wind 0 at 0, altimeter 20.9, loading depart runway 36. Advise controller that you have X-ray. So, let's go ahead and tune in Chicago O'Hare. That is 135.15. Now this is running a little fast. That could be because of the CPU speed I've got going. It's a bit high. I have it a bit high for Flight Simulator 5. But it does help smooth things out a little bit. But look what it does to the compass. This thing goes out of sync quickly. It seems to fly okay. If anything, it has it's smooth. Alright, 135. O'Hare International Airport information. Bravo. 12 Zulu weather visibility blah blah blah, temperature 51 blah blah blah, temperature 29 blah blah, landing departing runway 4. Vice controller on initial contact. You have Bravo. Alright, so here's what we can do. Let's tune in both VORs to 113.9. So, how do we do that? We're going to hit V. If you do V1 and then plus minus, nope, sorry, that's the VOR. N1. Now if you take a look at nav1, that is going to start changing there. So we'll change that to 113, and then NN1, I believe, yeah, is going to change the decimals. So we'll change that to 9. Okay. So 14.9 miles away it is. Let's go ahead and do nav2. That is going to be N2 plus minus. As you can see, we'll change that. NN2. And now we'll be changing the decimal point. There we go. Alright. So now we're going to do V1. And we're going to change this until we get that needle centered. That will let us know which direction to go. But what I want to do is go V2 and change this to 040. So one is to get us in the right direction. The other one is to allow us to somewhat line up with runway 4. I know that's not going to be exact because it's going to be based on where that VOR tower is at, but this will give us somewhat of an idea. Alright, and with that, now we're going to go ahead and get going here. So F1, F2, F3, and F4 are your throttles. F1 cuts everything. F2 is 1 increment down. F3 is 1 increment up. F4 is full power. So, hey, full power sounds good to me. Let's check the elevators first. 2 and 8. 8 makes it go down. 2 makes it go up. If you can see there, it tries to go up and then just goes back down. Let me hit the numerical, or the Noom lock. Noom lock brings up the map. That's interesting. It's got the fuel box. So this is a little different from the Commodore 64 because it's got a little box to go with the fuel thing, whereas the Commodore 64 does not. So there are some pluses to this port. Scroll lock will reset our view. And I still can't get the stupid thing to work. But trim does work. So, okay, I've been noticing a problem, and this is not going to work out for turning the auto coordination off, and I'll show you. The 0 is supposed to be left rudder. The enter key is supposed to be right. So if you can see down here that it's beginning to move. Now if I use the enter key, look what happens. My viewpoint is going down, which makes absolutely no. I don't know why it's doing that. What the heck do I have now? I have no idea. Let's see, scroll lock, and 8 will reset it and put us to front view. Okay, that's down. That's what that is. I at least got the elevators working. But, and the period on the numerical keypad, that just resets it. That just resets the simulator. So, this is frustrating. So we're not going to have rudders. I like having the rudders because you can make some fine adjustments when lining up with the runway. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do that. So we're going to have to hit enter. Go here to auto coordination, put yes, and then come out here. Because otherwise it's going to be kind of pointless. Anyway, let's go ahead and take off here. That's going to be F4 for full power. Alright, we are off. G will be landing gear. Should be. Let's hit that, and boom, it says up, so we're good. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn in the direction of... You're still kind of sliding over. Alright, that's a little better. No, it's not. It's moving! Stop! Let's turn down our power. That should be F2. So you can see this is the throttle right here. I don't want to get too high. I know there's a joke in there somewhere, but... Let's not go there. Use my trim here. Okay, we are still going up. Keep our height under control. This is our trim right here, and this is our flaps. Flaps is going to be F5, F6, F7, and F8. I can tell you the airport is right over here. So we'll go ahead and we'll stay on the course that we're at. Or let's follow this road over here. That's what this thing is here. That's a road. Why do we keep going over to the left? Okay. turn down some more power here. Okay, our speed is low. I wonder if it's because it's cold. We're still climbing. Alright, let me hit H for card heat. That's down here. Oh, no, it doesn't seem to like that. Hold on. Well, it's in the middle. It should be fine. We'll turn the card heat back off again. I just remember I was flying with X-Plane, and it was cold, and I could barely get any speed out of it. And it wasn't until I turned on the heat, it didn't have carburetor heat, it had something else, that it started to work better. I'm going to bring our pitch down. That might help us out a little bit, because we are still climbing. Oh my goodness. The sound of the engines. Oh man, that hurts. We'll bring the power down a little bit more. F2 brings it down. Don't hit F1, that's going to cut your throttle completely. Okay, now let's look out the window. That'll be scroll lock and the numerical keypad. So if you look at your numerical nine keys there, and the 5 is down, then you know that 8 is forward, 2 is back, and left, right, diagonal. So we're going to hit scroll lock 9. That's going to have us look out the window here at an angle, because I got an angle. I have an angle. Does anyone know what movie that's from? It's a classic. I've got an angle. Okay, we finally have our pitch set, so that way it's not going higher. We got our speed up to 100 knots. Oh, man, that sound. Well, if I continue to talk, at least it helps distract me from the sound. Because otherwise, you're listening to it, and it's going through your ears, and you're like, wow, kind of hypnotic in a way. So did I mention well, let me give you a little bit of history here of myself and Flight Simulator, not a history of Flight Simulator. There's websites on that. But my first Flight Simulator was on the Commodore 64 by SubLogic Flight Simulator 2. That's what this is based off of. It was ported by Microsoft, I believe, which is why they call it Microsoft Flight Simulator, but ported from that for the PC computer. But with that, they made just a few slight tweaks to it. So the control panel is filled out, and you've got this curve on the control panel, so that way it's not flat. It actually gives it a sort of kind of 3D feel to it. But if you look at the later simulators, like 5 and 98, and look at the Cessnas, even the modern ones, like FSX and X-Plane, it has a curve right there. The control panel curves because it's coming around. And then plus there are a few colors in this that the SubLogic one does not have, such as color here, and some color thrown in throughout here. It does kind of make it hard to read a little bit, but I've always wanted to play this version because I've seen pictures of it when I was growing up. I'm like, oh, I want to play that version. That looks better. It's essentially the same. You have the same green landscape. You have the same lines for roads. Let's see. Scroll lock 6. Bring us out in that direction there. Distance is at 7. I think we can probably start turning now. Let's go ahead and turn. Let's bring the flaps down one increment. That is going to be F6. You'll see that did the trick there. We want to slow down a little bit. Try to level ourselves up with our elevators. There's an airport there. That's not the one we want to go to, though. I prefer the smaller airports in this because the runways are actually filled. They're solid. They're not like transparent like the bigger airports for whatever reason. I don't know why they decided to do that. Okay. I see a runway right here. This line that's sticking out, you can't see the hand, but it's right there. I'm going to bring my trim down. I'm going to try to bring my trim down here. Seem to be stuck. It's like now we got level flight and we don't want level flight. Come on. Oh, landing gear. Can't forget that. Gotta get this sucker down lower. I want to reduce the throttle, but I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of our speed getting too low. Let's do one more thing of flaps here. That's going to be F7. Maybe that'll help get us at the right angle. Rate of descent, angle of descent, whatever you want to call it. Now the taxiways will fill in once we, well, they'll appear once we get closer to the runway here. I'm not sure if this is runway 4 or runway 3. Whatever it is, this is the one we're going to go to. We're going to land at this runway. Which seems like we're off center on here. Three 3.8 miles from the airport. We should be able to start. It should start to look like a runway instead of a line here. Man, trying to get this thing lined up. And don't kid yourself. It's not completely easy to fly. Especially when trying to line up with the runway. There we go. That is runway 4. This is weird. Do you see the 4 right there? It shouldn't be out here, and this here is a fuel thing. I noticed that on the Commodore 64 also. Alright, we're getting a little fast. Full flaps. Let's start cutting the power down. Let's not turn in that direction. Come on. Let's land on the runway here. Oh, this always happens when I fly on the 64. It's like you get lined up and then you switch over to the side. Okay. I think we almost got it here. Start cutting our power down. Gotta be careful or we're gonna stall here. Let's bring our power back up again a little bit. We don't want to stall. Oh, this is where I wish I had the rudders working. I don't think I'm going to make the runway. We're going to land here in the grass in between the runway. How about that? Uh-oh. That's not good. Alright, we're going to try this again. I told you, this is not easy. And no wonder I was having problems. The throttle was off. Hey, my auto coordination is on. Why is that? Hold on. Oh, it's not on. There it goes. Now it's right. Okay, there's the runway. Get ourselves turned around. Bring some flaps down. Get a second degree of flaps down. It looked like we were almost landed. But no, it just nosedived right into the ground. That kind of surprised me. I thought we were, like, just above. Let's see, if we're off to this side, well, now we're getting slightly, I want to get lined up here. It's as real as it gets, folks. I remember the promotional material. Like, I read it, and it's like, it's incredibly accurate. I don't know about accurate. Oh, come on. We're off to the side again. Look at this. We're turning. We should be turning. I'm off at an angle. How come we're not turning? Gotta be careful, we're too high. I do not want to do a go around. 2.8 miles and the thing hasn't filled up yet. Finally. We'll know when we land when everything is like lined up with the horizon. This is why I want the rudders to work. It's easier to line up the runway with the rudders. Look at this. Come on! Oh, really? I gotta go that steep? I'll wind up crashing if... Oh, come on. Okay, this is gonna be a little... Alright, down, down. Come on. Down we go. Come on, we're almost there, we're almost there, we're almost there. Ah, we got it. Alright, cut the power. Period is break. There is a slight click when we land it. Alright, we'll take this taxiway. Okay. Now, how I guide myself around, because it is hard to see anything. Why is the period not stopping us? Oh, I think it did. Alright. So what I do is I bring up the map. This will be the Noom lock key here. You can do plus or minus. And I go ahead and I just taxi using this. So we can see that there are some parking areas over there. So let's go ahead. We'll bring our throttle. Oh, wrong one. All right. Okay, from the looks of it, I'm going to say that this first one, no, that's a runway. It's the one in the middle. The one in the middle should be the taxiway. I'm trying to remember the real O'Hare Airport. Now, sadly, I'm going through the motions of going to the parking spot, but you can't save the game there. At least I haven't figured out how. But if you've got the XY coordinates, you can type those in and start at the airport that you want to go to. Which is what we'll have to do. And I don't think with DOSBox if there is a way to do a freeze state. I'll check to make sure. If we could do a freeze state or snapshot of our save, that would be nice. Because when you crash, it like resets everything. Almost everything. It didn't reset the VOR radios, so that was nice. Just in case you're wondering, this is what it looks like out the window. And sometimes you can't tell, oh, am I on the taxiway, am I on the runway, or am I in between? It's hard to tell. That's why I use this to get around. Now, yeah, I could just drive right across everything, but let's put a little bit of effort into it. So the crash that we did earlier, I was just showing you what not to do. But I'm actually kind of glad that happened, because it goes to show you how hard this simulator can be to actually land. Flying doesn't seem to be a problem, taking off and flying. It was always the landing part that always frustrated me. But once you get the hang of it, you can do pretty decently. So the same thing happened to me on the Commodore 64 on the videos that I was flying. I crashed. In fact, I think I crashed at O'Hare, and I had to do what I did on this one. Whereas, making another attempt. And I did it a second time. I think it was when we were flying to Peoria. Or that was the Amiga version, I can't remember. That's usually where my problem is at, is when the airspeed gets too low and it stalls. Although technically, from what I understand, you're supposed to stall the airplane just before you land. So that way it stops flying and touches down. Yeah, try doing that on this. Okay, let's zoom in here. And if you think running up with a runway is hard, try doing it when you've got wind. Oh, that just gets even more frustrating. Okay, that's not a DOS sound. That's my regular PC thinking it's cute by switching windows on me. Hey, let's take you out of DOSBox. That way I'm hitting keys and it's like beep, 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 beep. Maybe we can pretend that, I don't know, something at the airport is letting us know to stop here. Okay, well, we're here at O'Hare. To shut the Meigs down, you would hit M and then 1. As you can see, it does turn it off, but the engine keeps going, so call it a bug, I don't know. But if we just hit P for pause, hey, the engine's off. All right, well, as I stretch after that flight, hope you enjoyed this flight as far as going back and reliving some old memories. For me, it was the Commodore 64, but I didn't want to leave these old, very old simulators out, like this one, for example, even though it's pretty much the same thing as the Commodore 64. I know some of you may have not played it on the Commodore 64. Some of you remember this version, so I don't want to leave this version out with the tour that I'm doing. I want to include this also. And this is not going to be the only flight we're going to do. We are going to be going airport to airport. No, we're not going to hit them all, but we are going to be flying from airport to airport, just as we're doing on the other simulators. So I know there are videos out there where it's just kind of like, oh, here's Flight Simulator 2, we're just kind of flying around. No, we're actually going to be taking this around. We're going to fly. We're going to fly with this, and we're going to make a series out of it. So, as much as we can. Anyway, I hope you'll check out the other videos that I have on this channel when it comes to this particular leg of the tour, and how it compares with the other simulators, other than the other simulators look better. Besides that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next leg of our journey. Take care. I hope you enjoyed the beginning of our world tour and trip down memory lane with this flight simulator. Be sure to check out the other versions of this same flight with different simulators. Why? Well, it gives us a chance to look back at what was, how things changed, and it's just fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on another flight.